historical, complex issues that we have to address while seeking ways to cooperate economically. But that is the goal, and we know that just as the original two-state solution, the UN solution in 1947, included a strong economic union component, so too will the hopefully more successful two-state solution include strong economic component and cooperation.
Yes.
Dan Nobby, Financial Times. Ambassador, I know you talked about the UN sanctions resolution this week and the US administration as well as a platform for further measures. But when you look at that sanctions resolution itself, the US wanted measures against banks, and wanted measures against energy companies, wanted measures of insurance. Just for example, it's just one Malaysian subsidiary of the debating bank, one individual. In that sanctions resolution, are you disappointed it was not stronger? And you called for energy sanctions as well.
Right.
We know, of course, the US Congress is working on legislation that's probably going to go through this month. But where, apart from the US, would you be keen for that energy sanctions to be pushed through? How important is it, for example, that Europe proceeds to provide?
Just answer the question. I was going to say Europe. European involvement here is absolutely critical. I think everybody would have probably wanted a stronger resolution, but we understood that the resolution had to be worded in such a way to have been as inclusive as possible, particularly inclusive of the Russians, the Chinese, others, and we were very appreciative of President Obama's commitment to this. The administration is determined, I'm quoting, determined to prevent Iran from acquiring military nuclear capabilities, and again, we appreciate it, and we do hope that there will be a strong energy component. That energy component is a prime goal of the legislation that has now been reconciled between the Congress and the Senate. It will address energy issues, and we welcome that as well.
Jill.
Jill was already saying that. Mr. Nesbitt, Mahmoud Abbas is here, he's meeting with Hillary Clinton, and in fact, he spoke yesterday, and he said the number one thing that the Palestinians want is an end to the blockade. Now, Israel has made it clear that that is completely a non-starter. So is that an intractable problem? Where do you go? I know we're talking about these other ways of getting aid in, but is this just really something that cannot be done?
It depends what he's referring to when he says the blockade. Is he referring to the naval blockade, or is he referring to the closure of the crossing, the border crossing?
I think both.
Again, I'm going to go back to what I said earlier about addressing the needs of the civil population of Gaza. It's a complex issue for us, and I want to be very candid to you. Gaza right now, it'd be very easy for me to say that we have no conflict with the people of Gaza, and we want the people of Gaza to sign on to the peace process. We're conducting a peace process now as if Gaza is part of it, with the hope that eventually the people in Gaza will see what is happening on the West Bank and asking, why don't we have economic development? Why don't we have a future for our children? There's going to be a one-word answer. Hamas, they got to get rid of Hamas, they will join the peace process when the Palestinian state comes. The victims will also be Gaza. But right now that's not the case. And right now we are facing an entity, not a state, that is run by a regime, Hamas, which states in its covenant that its goal is the destruction not only of the state of Israel, but the destruction of the Jewish people worldwide. It's a genocidal covenant. And they act on it. They fired 10,000 rockets and mortars at us. They've kidnapped a soldier, Gilad Shalit. It's difficult for me. This is one of the harder tasks I face in America, explaining to Americans, especially American soldiers, people in the Pentagon, what Gilad Shalit means to Americans, to Israelis. Gilad Shalit is a national obsession. Gilad Shalit, I meet with the Shalit family when I go back to Israel. I try to meet with Gilad Shalit's father in a restaurant. We can't actually have a sentence with people who are running off the street just to hug him and say, you know, we're with you, Gilad. We're going to get our Gilad home. And it is really politically, domestically, Israelis have to know that we are committed to getting Gilad Shalit home. And that Gilad Shalit has now been 4 years in Gaza and has not seen, never mind his parents, hasn't seen a Red Cross representative there. That is problematic for us too, politically. Understand that. I don't think, I say unequivocally, it is in nobody's interest. It's not in our interest, it's not Egypt's interest, it's not in PA's interest, it's not in the interest of peace, to facilitate Hamas's access to unfettered supplies, or unfettered access to military hardware. That would be the end of the PA. Say nothing about an extraordinary danger to 7.5 million Israelis. With that, we have to find a way that is less contentious, less potentially explosive, of denying Iran, Hamas, access to such munitions, and a better way of addressing the humanitarian needs in Gaza. Now, we have been letting in between 100 and 120 trucks every day across the Gaza border, laden with basic foodstuffs and medicine. So we know that there's no shortage of such foodstuffs, no shortage of medicine. And we want to adjust that situation in such a way that it would better facilitate that transfer. But there's no magic formula here. It's very easy to say, well, if we internationalize the blockade, that will work. Well, we've had an example of recent years of an attempt to internationalize a blockade. It's called Resolution 1701 in Lebanon, that it intended to deny Hezbollah the ability to rearm. And Hezbollah has not only rearmed, it has rearmed massively, more than triple the number of missiles in its arsenal. It hasn't worked. Several years ago, we had European observers at the border crossings. Hamas threatened them and they ran away. That didn't prove efficacious either. So again, there's no magic formula. We are engaged in a very serious and fundamental discussion with the Obama administration and other entities, with the UN, Quartet, about better ways to facilitate the situation, to ameliorate the situation. But again, not easy.
It's hard.
That's
Yeah.
it.
Thank you, Ambassador, for that. We just talked